I don't have any tooth. I'll admit it. I will brag. Those players did not just go and whip that ass for us to be like, oh, good game. No, we whipped your ass. We took $800,000. Now we're going to party with it.
Yeah, who cares if you're in the Power 5 conference if you don't win it, ever? Or you don't beat any of the teams in it? Like, what's the point of that? Wouldn't you rather win the conference and say, like, hey, my team is good, than lose the conference and say, well, our conference is good?
Well, I'll tell you what, I got two teams that got me gassed up. It's going to be a hell of a battle. It'll be like two dogs fighting over a milk bun.
Look, they don't call me Tip for nothing. And my tip is, look out for the group of 5 this season. They've been taking it to the Power 5 year after year.
The only quarterbacks that ever get any love are from the Power 5. I can easily list off the top group of 5 quarterbacks I would rather have than those guys. I would be willing to bet that at least one of them is going to be in the running for the Heisman this year.
Good evening. Welcome in, everybody, to the Group of 5 Guys podcast, where we're here to talk about all things Group of 5, which is real college football for the real fans. We're 1 year in. Tonight marks the 1 year anniversary of the Group of 5 Guys podcast. And damn it, I'm proud to say we're still here. We're still rolling. We got all 5 of us cranked up. Big episode tonight, Conference USA preview. If you missed last week, we caught the American Conference, so make sure you check that out. YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Follow us on all the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Group of 5 Guys. Whew. 1 year, boys. Jess, how you feeling?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I try to treat every day as like a celebration, but just realize that this was our 1 year podcast, and I'm very proud of us. I'm proud of all the hard work that's gone into this thing. You know, we always get after each other. We have fun, and sometimes we have really bad takes, and you know, that normally comes from me. And I'm glad for a year that I was able to give bad takes, and we're still producing this podcast. So it's good to be here, Matt, and excited to talk about Conference USA.
There's no question about it. Jeff Murphy, you've been editing videos, keeping our sound and internet tight for 1 year. How you feeling?
I couldn't be better, Sprouse. 1 year in, and let me tell you, I'd like to thank absolutely nobody for the work that we've put in for everybody else on this podcast. Now, seriously, we couldn't do this without the fans, without the listeners. We appreciate your love and support, because it's hard, man. It's hard to do a podcast, and most podcasts don't make it past like 8 or 9 episodes. So, you know, we do this because we love it, and we do it because of the fan support that we get on Twitter and Instagram and on YouTube. So appreciate you guys listening and following and meeting up with us when we come to your campus. That means, you know, that's the best time that we get to have, is when we get to travel and meet you guys and just rap with you guys, have a couple cold ones, and just so thankful for you guys. So we're going to keep this thing rolling. Conference USA tonight, boys. Talk about one of the best conferences in the Group of 5, holding it down. Can't wait to get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, the parity in the Group of 5 or in the Conference USA. But I will say this, you know what does make this podcast easy? It's because we love Group of 5 football. We have a hard time not saying all of our content when we're just on the phone BS and talking trash to each other. We got to save it for the podcast. Zeke Anderson, you've been wearing how many episodes, how many different cowboy hats? How are you feeling tonight?
Oh, man, I don't have that statistic. I wear many hats, but I will say that I am fired up for it is August. Some of these boys are starting camp this week. Ooh. We are ready to go. We are here, blood, sweat, and tears. And I'd like to touch on the 1 year mark, Murph, all the folks that we've drank with, met, shook hands with over our journey and our travels. Thank you very much, all the likes and subscribers. We appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you.
No question about it. Tyler Tipton, we're going to get to what quite possibly was the best take of the year later on, but, you know, we'll save it. But how are you feeling this evening?
I'm feeling fantastic. It's so hard to believe that we've already been doing this for a year, and it's been so much fun. I mean, we all 5 of us love what we're doing. We love talking football, and we're extremely passionate about what we're doing and showing this love to the Group of 5 football teams and the schools. So really appreciate all the fans out there for listening and for hearing what we have to say, and cannot wait to keep this up for many, many, many more years to come, and to keep traveling and stuff. So really appreciate everyone out there that's been listening to us for this past year.
Yeah, I mean, we don't do it for the money, you know. We do it for how much we love the sport, you know, because the money's flowing right now, and you know it's hard to keep up with.
Right, everybody's doing.
We got to keep a level head and just keep doing what we love.
I mean, and speaking of the money, thank God for Austin Birch and Birch Tax Services, because without him, he's our CPA. There's no way we'd be able to keep this thing.
Question: how do you even keep up with all the dollars?
I don't know.
I mean, with the economy booming the way it's booming right now for us, I mean, my God, we are doing well.
It's unbelievable. And Sprouse, we can't forget. I mean, all the coaches, all the staff that's allowed us to come into their schools and take pictures and videos and just relationships we built all across the country, man. It's awesome. Appreciate all the coaches.
Yeah, no doubt.
Athletic directors, all the above.
That's what I was going to say, Zeke. I mean, we've had ADs, head coaches, assistant coaches, GAs, recruiting ops, you know, all the way up and down the chain, and everybody's been fantastic to us, the love and support, and allowing us to highlight your schools. And if we haven't been, y'all need to keep hitting us up, and we'll try to make it happen as soon as we can. One other thing, too, you know, before we get going, we need everybody to start calling in on the hotline. When this season gets started, we need all the trash talk. We need your lock-in bets of the week. We want the rivals going at each other back and forth. Call the Hot Take Hotline, 615-900-4286. We'll play the best ones on the air. Conference USA. Jeff said it may be the best conference in the group of five. I'm willing to bet you'll get 4 disagreements there at this point, especially, I mean, you're going to lose one of your top teams, traditionally probably the top team in Marshall. You're losing Old Dominion this year, and you're losing Southern Miss. So you're losing a lot of tradition, you know, going over to the Sun Belt. And then you're going to gain Liberty. You're going to gain Sam Houston, but they're not here yet. So we've got kind of a weird, you know, in-between year for Conference USA. But last year you had UTSA, who, of course, had an awesome, awesome season. Only 2 losses. Of course, one was at North Texas. And then they end up beating Western Kentucky in the conference championship game. But I want to go around the horn really fast, kind of like we did on the last episode. Talk about, give me a player, an X factor you're looking at, one that maybe not everybody's talking about, maybe that some of these folks haven't heard of. And I want to go around the horn and talk about that. I'll start with you, Jesse Grisham. Who you got?
So more of a dark horse kind of deal, kind of just who I think is going to make a huge
player
impact
you're
in
watching.
USA.
Yep.
I like the Grant Gunnell from North Texas. The quarterback transferring in from Memphis. Before Memphis, he was at I believe it was Arizona, and you know he threw for 1,200 yards. He had like 65.2 completion percentage. Really good player. But he goes to Memphis, and we talked about how good their quarterbacks are in the American Conference, and really just Seth Hennigan, he's taken that job. So now he's going to North Texas, and what I like about this North Texas team, Sprouse, is they're flying under the radar. They're going to be a team to look out for, and I think he's going to be the reason, because they have like 4 dynamic receivers at North Texas. They're going to move the ball. So look out for him. I think he's going to put some big numbers up.
Have they confirmed, has he won the job already?
No,
yeah,
they're
that's an interesting QB battle in North Texas. And
so, there's a couple of them around Conference USA.
I guess I should say I suspect him to start. And I think he'll just have a huge impact for North Texas.
I'm with you. I like North Texas flying under the radar. I mean, everybody's going to be on UTSA and UAB and maybe some on Western Kentucky, but I think North Texas is right up there in that top 3 or 4.
I got to win in 8 ball games, Sprouse. I got to win 8.
Yeah, well, we'll get to it. Yeah, we're going to get to that. I'm on the North Texas train. I'm on the mean green train. But we'll go to you, Murph. Who are you watching for this year?
And I think a breakout player who had a fantastic season last year, they just kind of sputtered towards the end as a team. But Grant DuBose, Charlotte receiver. I mean, this kid, I was watching highlights of him earlier. I mean, he's a specimen now. He's 6'3", He was 200 pounds. I don't know what he's weighing in now. I'm sure he's gained a few pounds since last year. But this kid was electric. When they could get him the ball, he would make guys miss. He's strong enough to break tackles. I mean, this kid has breakaway speed, and he's got the size to go up and get over any shorter defender that's covering him. So with Chris Reynolds coming back and Charlotte looking to have kind of a bounce-back year from last year, I think he's going to be a key in that offense. They got to get him the ball. He's a playmaker. I mean, he did it all last year. He was instrumental in them beating Duke. So I think he's a player for me to watch in Conference USA.
Yeah, Charlotte. Charlotte was one of the few teams that was super young last year.
Yeah.
But they got some guys. I think it's 8 starters coming back on offense if you include the quarterback. So a lot rides on the health of the QB with Charlotte. But if he's got his number one guy, I mean, we saw him live, last year against Middle, and it was a freaking shootout. So they can put up some points for sure. Go over to Zeke Anderson. What player are you looking out for this year?
Man, I tell you what, I have got Gavin Hardison of the UTEP Miners, my pillow fight team.
What?
Last year.
The Pillow Fighters?
Your pillow fight team that
my
won
pillow
7
fighters
games
last year. So this guy, he actually ranked 3rd last year in passing completion yardage. So he threw 18 touchdown passes. Threw about 13 interceptions though, which is probably why they didn't win too many games last year. But I think if he manages the turnovers, I think he's got a lot of upsides. He threw for over 3,000 yards. So excited to see what he can do. I think they've got a pretty good defense. So keep an eye out for him.
I like it. UTEP, UTEP was the team that came out of nowhere last year.
It's like they won some games.
Weren't they either 6-1 or 7-1?
Yeah,
and then they played UTSA.
They were undefeated when we went to Georgia
it.
Southern. Sprouse.
Yeah.
We went to Georgia Southern game that we watched them on TV against. I think North Texas is the one that beat them first.
It might have been.
Yeah,
it might have been. Yeah, and then they just couldn't. That's how Conference USA is though, because the schedules like will make or break these teams. I mean, you got anybody in Conference USA can go 10-2, and anybody in Conference USA can go 2-10, and you don't know who that's going to be even halfway through the year. We were talking to Will Healy last year, and I'm over here telling them they're going to host the conference championship game, and then they don't win another game. So my fault on that.
Well, I think real quick, if I can jump in, it's like it's almost who matches up with who, and like some teams might run the ball really well, some teams might throw the ball really well. So it's like you get into conference, and it's who's got the best matchup against the best team, and it doesn't matter who they played the week before because the matchup is completely different. So it's just interesting how these teams kind of just knock each other off, from week to week.
It's a conference too that historically you haven't had like that real top superstar QB either. Yeah. And that's what we talked about the American last year. So, a guy gets hurt, you still got Desmond Ritter or whatever, and the depth in Conference USA I think is lacking. And anytime you get somebody up front hurt, I mean you're putting a walk-on in to start the end of the season on the line, and you just don't have the depth to keep up. So injuries are killing teams. But yeah, I'm with you on the matchups on that. I'm gonna go ahead and do my guys to watch, and then we'll go to tips. And then we'll move on from there. I got 2 guys, both in Boca Raton at Florida Atlantic. So, Murphy, talked about a specimen. Listen to this. Sophomore, Evan Anderson, the nose tackle, 6'3", 356. And he wears a single digit. Anytime a defensive lineman wears a single digit, that some bitch is going to be tough to block. I saw him last year when I was down there, again, watching Middle Tennessee, and that kid was a problem. I mean, just pressure up the middle on every play. I mean, they were having to adjust the entire offense to get around that kid. And I had no idea. I thought I was watching a 5th-year senior. But here he is. He's coming back. I mean, as a freshman, he's making all conference. So I'm looking for him to have a huge year. I mean, you get a run stuffer like that. I mean, that's going to help, with that 3-man front that they run.
Changes the whole complexity of what the offense is trying to do.
On the other side of the ball, they got Johnny Ford, running back. He's 5'5", 175 pounds, but he had 6.3 yards of carry last year. So that run game is gonna have to help them in order to give Cozy Perry kind of a, an outlet and allow him to open up for play action and things like that. But those are my two guys: Florida Atlantic, Evan Anderson, the nose guard, and Johnny Ford, the running back. Complete opposite sides of the physical specimen range, but both two guys I'm looking out for. Tyler Tipton, you had the pick last year. I mean, the ultimate pick, but what are you looking at this year?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have another quarterback transferring to Western Kentucky.
No.
And that's my player to watch this year. His name is Jarrett Deggy, transfer from West Virginia. He's currently the front runner to be the starting quarterback. They have not announced him as the starting quarterback yet. But last year, playing for West Virginia, he passed for over 3,000 yards, had 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. A little bit of background. So we all know Zach Keatley, offensive coordinator last year. He's no longer there. 1 year and done. He's now the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech. They bring in a guy. Well, I say bring in. They hired internally. Ben Arbuckle is the new offensive coordinator. A little bit of background about Coach Arbuckle. He is a young offensive coordinator. He played quarterback at West Texas A&M and graduated 4 years ago in 2018. He was a quality control coach for Zach Keatley at Houston Baptist and then moved with him to Western Kentucky. And then once Keatley moved to Texas Tech, that's when Western Kentucky offered him the offensive coordinator job, and he's taken it. And so what I saw in a recent interview with Jarrett Deggy is it looks like they're going to be running the same type of offense they ran last year. Very wide open, 3-4 receiver sets. Going to be throwing the ball a lot. And watching Jarrett Deggy when he played last year at West Virginia, it's not exactly the same style offense, but it's close. And he says in an interview that we're gonna have a clip on that here shortly. The tempo is just a little bit faster, he said, that's going to be here at Western Kentucky. So it looks like it's going to be wide open offense again. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. Yes, they don't have their top two receivers in Jarrett Stearns and Mitchell Tinsley, but they still have some solid playmakers. And I think with keeping that same offense intact for this year, I think it's going to benefit Jarrett Deggy. And I'm not sitting here saying he's going to put up Bailey Zappi numbers because I don't think we'll ever see another quarterback put up Bailey Zappi numbers.
Well,
but
Murph,
he's my player to watch this year.
You got that clip?
I do.
From him at camp?
Yeah, I got it queued up.
Big 12's, considered a very offensive-heavy, conference, and you come here, they set a lot of records, last year. Is there like a different type of tempo or different type of style that is, I guess, different from Big 12 football to Western Kentucky football?
Yeah, so the offense I was playing in is very, I would say, similar to what we're doing here, but I feel like here we do use a lot more tempo than we did at West Virginia. So I'm excited about that. Other than just football, I think football's football. And these defensive guys are flying around just as like the Big 12 guys are.
I mean, you hear it right there.
I mean, is that not exactly what we preach?
100%.
Boys.
I love it. They're flying around everywhere. Football's football, man. I mean, my guy, we've been preaching about it for a year.
Yep.
But I tell you, I'm listening to you tell that, sweet story there, Tip, and I'm like, okay, dude, Jarrett, whatever. I mean, but Murph, do you have the clip of Tyler Tipton from almost exactly 1 year ago tonight telling us about some new quarterback named Bailey Zappi and his new offensive coordinator from Houston Baptist were his dark horse in the conference last year?
I mean, talk about a pick of a lifetime. I mean, I don't know how he got this one right, but kudos to Tip. But
Did you put any money down on them?
I did not, no.
But yeah, I got it right here. Let's
hear it.
My dark horse this year is out of the East Division, Western Kentucky, the Hill Toppers. They have several transfers coming in this year that if they all gel, then and it can get everything to work and click, then they can make a run this year. They have a transfer quarterback coming in out of Houston Baptist, Bailey Zappi. This guy last year, and it was only 4 games, small sample size, but in those 4 games, 66% complete percentage, 458 yards per game, 15 touchdowns, only 1 interception. And so what Western Kentucky did, they hired a new OC this year, Zach Kitley, who just so happened to be the offensive coordinator for Bailey Zappi at Houston Baptist.
Well, what a coincidence.
What
Say that
a
3 times
coincidence.
fast.
I mean,
Unbelievable.
hit the nail on the head.
I mean, dead on.
I think it's safe to say they clicked and it worked.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if these new guys can pull it off. I mean, I don't want to
It's gonna
say
be
they're
tough.
not gonna, but
It's
you're
gonna
not
be
gonna
tough.
set the NCAA,
No.
all-time passing record. But
No, you're not. You just don't. When you have an offensive coordinator, a quarterback, and your top wide receiver all at one school transfer to another school, I mean, they've already had that experience together, and they saw how well it was working at Houston Baptist and said, "Hey, let's just take this up to Western Kentucky and see how it does." And it turns out it ends up being a record-setting season for them. It's gonna be it's a almost a completely different situation because you have Deggy coming in, doesn't have any familiarity with any of the receivers, running backs, offensive line, anyone. He's known the new offensive coordinator for a few years, but doesn't have that experience in this offense, so he's gonna have to learn a whole new offense basically. And that's why I'm hesitant. And you'll hear you'll hear my picks later with Western Kentucky and the championship game as a whole. But it's just gonna it's tough to call them I guess like a dark horse this year, just with the different situation here with the quarterback transfer.
well, Vegas, at least DraftKings has them at 8. An even 8 on the win total. So we'll start with Western. Let's get to these win totals. We'll go around the horn. I mean, Western went 9-5 last year. You lose the NCAA all-time leading passer and his number 1 receiver and his offensive coordinator. They win in 8 games this year, Jess?
No. I think of them kind of like the LSU of the Conference USA. Kind of reminds me of Joe Burrow and Joe Brady leaving. And then next thing you know, you have a pretty awful year the next season. The guys, they don't have their offensive lines not coming back. They already said they lost their 2 best receivers. Their defense is going to be okay, but their schedule to me is pretty tough. I'll tell you, I think they're the most overrated team right now in Conference USA. They're projected to win like 3. I mean, come in 3rd place. I see these guys winning 2 games.
Wow.
Heard it here first. I got 2 wins for Western Kentucky.
Down.
Yeah, I one because the schedule with their home and away schedule. And who they play. I mean, hell, they got to go all the way out to Hawaii. Loss. Like,
Yeah,
they're
that's
not
interesting.
They have to go to Indiana, where they had a heartbroken last year at home, right? Indiana, I think that last year's West Kentucky team could not beat Indiana. I don't think this year's going to. So they're going to have a really hard start. And then there's teams in the Conference USA, such as FIU that I've been talking about. I think they're going to have a good year this year. North Texas are going to have a good year this year. Middle Tennessee State, it's a rivalry game. They owe them now. I think they're going to beat them as well. I just do not see West Kentucky having a good year at all.
I like it.
We're out.
We'll go back to you, Tip. I mean, what do you got? You got them winning 8?
I do. I have them right at 8, so I have the push. But I could see them winning 7 or 8 games. I think it comes down to so they have Troy and UAB both at home. I currently have them winning one of those 2, and I have them beating Troy. But I could see Troy with that defense coming in and beating them that week. So I was right on the fence with 7 or 8 wins, but yeah, I have them winning right at 8 games.
Zeke, what do you got?
Yeah, I've got them as a push. I had Troy as a toss-up. I think UAB probably gets after them. They end the season with Auburn, not the last game, but second to last game, and I think the Blue Raiders get after him this year, but that travel to Hawaii is a factor. It's over a long weekend, but it definitely plays a factor. So I got him right at 8.
Murph, what do you got?
I got him under. I got him at 7. I agree with the travel schedule. I think it's going to be difficult. I just think anytime you lose your starting quarterback, your 2 receivers, your offensive coordinator, that's just a lot to overcome. I do still think they're a very well coached team. Just be interested to see how this Dougie kid can play. I mean, they got some receivers coming back, a couple transfers out of the MAC to help with the receiving core as well. And then their defense. I mean, they're on their 3rd straight defensive coordinator. So I mean, anytime you just have instability on both sides of the ball, I think it's just difficult. So I have them at 7.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all the points that everybody just made. I got them under. I don't know. I don't know about 2, but I'm leaning a little closer to.
I hear you, but hearing everybody's points, I'm surprised y'all still got him at 7. I mean, it's just this schedule is brutal for them, and going back to the Troy UAB, I think that's 2 losses right there. I mean, I'm just looking at it, laughing at myself. Granted, this could be my East Carolina pick, right, from Murph last year, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, loss. Mainly just because I think the Charlotte, North Texas are going to be better than West Kentucky this year. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I just think that they still have pieces coming back, and they've shown the ability to fit in guys and coordinators and be successful. So, I mean, I do still think they're a good team, and they're going to have a decent year, bowl eligible and whatnot. But I think personally 2 is a little low, but that's just my opinion.
That was them. They whipped App State in the bowl game last year, right? Was that them? Booker T.
They did.
Sure did. Yeah, I mean, I think just with losing Zappy and Stearns and Kitley, I mean, I think they become just like everybody else in Conference USA, which is 5, 6. Like if you're looking at all these teams, everybody's at 4.5, 5.5, or 6.5. So I think they're going to be right in that range. Let's talk Charlotte. I know we love Charlotte. They're at 4.5 according to DraftKings. Start with you, Jess. What do you got?
4.5. I think they'll be over that. I think they'll be just at about 6 and make a bowl game.
I like it. Tip, what do you got?
Yeah, I have the over as well. I currently have them at 5 and 7, but there was a few toss-up games. I have them lose. They travel to MTSU this year. That game that we were at last year, MTSU at Charlotte, a back and forth offensive juggernaut game. They're playing at MTSU this year, and that's one of the toss-up games I have. But I had MTSU winning that one, so I had them right in between. I had them 5-6 wins, but either one was the over. So I was taking the over regardless.
I like it. Zeke, what do you got?
I got the under, and I'm glad Will Healy's not on this podcast. I got them winning 4 games. I got La Tech, Rice, FIU, and William and Mary.
Yep.
So I don't think they get that 5th win.
Murph, what do you think?
I got them over. I got them at 6 wins is what I realistically think. But I think this is a team, and if they get hot at the right time, they can make a run and surprise some teams. You got Chris Reynolds, who's a 5th-year senior, coming back. If he can stay healthy, he likes to run around, and that's when he kind of tends to get in trouble, getting banged up. But, I mean, the guy had 2,600 yards and 26 TDs last year. You have your top 3 receivers coming back, and Victor Tucker, Grant DeBose, and then you also have a couple transfers coming in too. You never know how those guys fit in. I just think they're primed to make a run. I think Will Healy, he holds himself to a high standard. And the last 2 seasons, really, I think he's been disappointed, and he's going to have those guys ready to go. They do have a new defensive coordinator coming in. He's looking to change some things up, give some different looks. And they got a pretty good D-line. So anytime you got a good D-line, that kind of anchors you down. You throw a few wrinkles in on defense, you never know. That defense could play a little bit better. And, I mean, last year they were a couple games away from you get a stop here, stop there. Now 2 or 3 of those losses look like wins. It changes your whole season. So I like Charlotte, but I got them over at 6 wins.
Yeah, I'm taking the over as well. It's going to be close because their non-conference is tough. I mean, they get Maryland at home, they're at Georgia State, and they're at South Carolina. Those three will be really tough, and those are back-to-back weeks. They got to win that first one at FAU, I think, to hit the over, and then I think they'll get William and Mary. They'll get Rice. I think they'll get La Tech, and then they just got to win one of Middle, Western, UTEP, and that'll put them over. But I'm taking the over on it, and I'm just gonna bet on the quarterback staying healthy, and I think that'll do it. Moving on, FIU, they're at 3 even. I know we had Tyrese Chambers on here. I got down there and met the head coach, Coach McIntyre. A lot of energy in that building. Jess, you think they win 3 games?
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. We've talked about the past few episodes that if you're going to bet, I would put that over on the 3 wins. I'm not that confident it'll be bowl eligible. They just have their schedule seems to be the softest out of all of Conference USA when I look at it, in my opinion. So I think there's going to be some games on there that they probably shouldn't have win that they will. So let's put them at about 5 to 6 wins. I hope they. I want to get to a bowl game at least for Tyrese. I hope they get to a bowl.
Tip FIU at 3.
I have them right at 3, so I have the push, and I have all 3 wins as non-conference game wins. So I have them winning against Bryant week 1, New Mexico State, and UConn. And I don't have them, unfortunately, I don't have them winning a conference game.
Zeke, FIU at 3.
I got the same exact take. It's Tipton. Push those 3 wins.
Murph?
Man, I got him over. I got him at 5. I think Coach Mack is bringing a lot of energy. I mean, you got the chance to meet him down there, Sprouse. And, they got Gunnar Holmberg from Duke coming in. Had some decent stats last year. I mean, Tyrese sounded like he was pretty fired up about him. They always got the athletes down there, so I think it's going to take a coach that can put them together, galvanize the team. And, I mean, 3 wins, I'm going to say over. I mean, like Grish said, I think that's a pretty safe bet. And I think they surprise a couple of teams.
You don't come in on Sunday, Father's Day, and work out and win 3 games. You win more than that.
You're about to find out.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I mean, I got the 3 wins in the non-conference. I think those are pretty safe bets, and then they got to win 1 of these toss-up games, and that's what I think Conference USA is. I think other than UTSA and UAB, I literally think any game is a toss-up game, and I think FIU we all know the talent they keep down there, and dude, yeah, I'm telling you, Sunday, Father's Day morning, they're working out. I mean, that tells you something.
And Sprouse, I mean, we always talk about, guys with good names. I mean, the running back Flex Joseph is returning. I mean, that's a hell of a name. I mean,
that's a game right there.
Can I change mine now? Can I change it?
I mean, you got Tyrese, what is it, Big Time Chambers, and
Big
Flex
Time Chambers.
Joseph. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Well, and one thing too about FIU on a more serious note is their stadium's kind of what it is. It's a little bit, small and kind of cheap looking. But I do know, I just saw on social media where they outsold their season tickets from a year ago. So McIntyre has done a great job. I saw where he came the night he came back from Conference USA Media Days. He was in the locker room with the FIU fraternity alumni, some whatever that is group. But so he basically had all the fraternities, all their alumni meet and touring the facility. So trying to get the fraternities on board at the games. And that's where, I mean, sounds so stupid and so easy, but you get that support. You get the frats and the sororities there. Then the other students that are just regular students, they're going to start coming because they're going to want to be a part of that. You rattle off a couple W's, man, and that little old stadium can be loud. So I'm taking the over on that. Go up north a little bit to Florida Atlantic. They're at 5.5. FAU's a interesting team. Jesse, you got them winning 5.5.
I guess not. I have them at 5. So I don't know why they do halves, but yeah, I got 5.
So somebody can win the bet.
Yeah, I understand. Sorry. Yeah, that's stupid. Five wins. I think that their schedule is pretty difficult. I don't exactly like exactly what they have coming back. You made a point about defense, but they only have 5 returning starters coming back on their defense, and they're just not as impressed with me. I do like Brent Dearman coming on for the offense, but going to Purdue and the away games in the Conference USA, I see them only win about five games.
Tip, what do you got?
Well, let me just say first, Jesse's betting luck from last year all makes sense now. With asking,
why they put a half?
I don't feel good.
I have FAU. I have the under. I have them winning 5 games. They have a pretty tough non-conference schedule. UCF, Purdue. I think those are both losses. And also, I have them beating, Charlotte and Ohio. I actually have them 3-0, but then those 2 games, and then an up and coming North Texas team following those 2 games. They have a tough schedule towards the end of the season, and I have them at 5 wins.
Zeke, you like FAU at 5.5?
Yeah, I've got the over. I like the thought of, Willie Taggart and Brent Dearman getting together, calling plays with that transfer. Old Cozy over there at quarterback. If Brent Dearman can get with him, I feel like they'll be getting things running in the right direction. I think they beat Rice, FIU,
UCF.
UTEP. Not UCF. I think they win that first one at Charlotte, and they've got Eastern Louisiana Lions in there, and then Ohio. So I think that's how they get to their 6.
Trigger warning. I think Willie Taggart is the most overrated head coach. He hasn't done shit in 2 years. So everybody wants to be like FAU. Willie Taggart, you're
it was
saying
Lane Kiffin's team
I'm not
before
coming
that.
to you, Zeke. I'm coming to you, Zeke. I'm saying what he's had a losing seasons the past 2 seasons.
No, it was 5-5.
Losing. And then whenever you look at Ohio, they're going to be really good next year. I feel like they're going to lose that game. UCF's probably going to pulverize them. Purdue's going to beat them. I have North Texas beat them. I have UA. I have FIU. Well, the FIU reason I have them going up is because I have them beating FAU. But Willie Taggart,
tell him, Griff,
about to get paid out by FAU if you don't have a good season.
He's 10-11 over his last 2 years.
I like the thought of him taking over a Lane Kiffin recruited team. They had a lot of juvenile transfers, and that I think will.
Hold on. On a side note, didn't you last week say that FAU was going to beat UCF, and that's why you were taking
that was not me.
under on UCF?
No, that was not me.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
We might have to check the receipts on that one.
I did not say that.
I'll put my 401k on. I didn't say that. FAU's not beating UCF. I said I have UCF doing really well next. I remember I had their running back being the top player in the conference.
You did.
We'll check the tape and just make sure
tape,
next week we'll report back.
I'm pretty sure it was you. I thought Matt said that.
No chance. No, I said South Florida. I said South Florida was going to beat UCF. But anyway, Zeke, are you done before Jesse called out your head coach there?
Yeah.
Taggart, he's been in some tough spots though. I mean, when he went to Florida State, I mean they had no shot there. And I mean he was just the product of when these Group of 5 coaches go to the Power 5 and the fans want them to be undefeated immediately. But
let's not act like Lane Kiffin was one of the best. I mean, not act like he was one of the best recruiters in Group of 5. He brought talent there. Now he may have had some guys leave to go to Ole Miss with him. I don't know that stats, but
it's not like Lane
was set
Kiffin
up
was
better there than he was FSU.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. But it ain't like Lane Kiffin was winning a ton of games. I mean, I think they played for the championship.
I think he went 6-6 maybe.
Oh,
I mean,
they played for. I think they won. I think they won the conference once. But anyway, Murph, what you got? You got FAU 5.5?
No, I got him under at 5. I think Brent Dearman's their biggest acquisition, honestly, that they've got. I think whether he can create the relationship with Cozy and get him on the right track is going to make or break the season. I think he can do it. I thought what he did at Middle was awesome. I mean, having, those quarterbacks come in. You had the transfer last year who ended up essentially leaving and not playing and got great production out of 2 guys. He should get Cozy to play pretty well. I just don't think they have much help on the outside. Now, they got a couple transfers coming in. At this transfer portal, you never know. And if they get a big-time threat on the outside, they got, some running backs that can tote the ball. But they got to get some help on the outside. Cozy's got to play smart, not turn the ball over, and give those guys a chance. But I think their schedule's tough. I do. And I got them at 5 wins.
It's the most me and Jeff have ever agreed on any podcast.
Well,
hell's freezing over, Grish.
I'm about to agree with you, too. Mm-hmm. I got the under also. And y'all know I always pull for the Florida schools. But, yeah, UCF, Purdue, Ohio, I'm just not I'm not a believer in Perry. I think he can be kind of sloppy. He tends to
Where did he transfer from?
Miami.
The U.
Oh.
But he turned it over a bunch there. But also we can't after we all just said how bad they're going to be. We can't talk about FAU without giving a shout out to our boy Chad Lunsford going down there too. So they got they got the coaches, man.
They got good coaches down there. I'm not saying that.
I just think it's more of their schedule this year. I think their schedule is extremely tough. So, if they can get hot and beat, have an upset here and beat some quality teams in Conference USA, I could see them winning 6 or 7. But I mean, the biggest question is, new coordinator, can Cozy figure it out and not turn the ball over? I mean, that makes all the difference in the world.
Hell, they're probably not even paying
I agree with that
right now. There's probably FSU still paying his contract.
Didn't he coach at Oregon for a minute too?
I thought he went straight to FAU.
He's
probably getting paid by 3 or 4 different places right now.
Talk about his
That's why he ain't going nowhere.
I'm just jealous. I wish I get paid $100 million to get fired.
Yeah, I'd love it.
You wouldn't see me coaching.
My boss,
my pride, I'll put in my back pocket and go to the beach.
No, but it's it's wild how FAU. I mean, FAU and FIU, they both always got talent, but FAU in particular, I mean, their new stadium is awesome. Their facilities are big time. Their facilities are in the top 3 or 4 in the conference. And I mean, in Boca, I guess college kids have a hard time in Boca Raton, but Boca's sweet. So it's a wonder they don't get more top players. We go to La Tech at 4.5. La Tech is they have just hit a tough spot these last few years. Jess, what do you got?
Under. I'm not even going to talk about them. They're under.
Tip.
I have the under as well. I have last year their 3-9 record was the fewest wins since 2006 season, and I see a repeat of that. I see them winning 3 games. Have a new head coach coming in, and it looks like he's going to be bringing an air raid style offense, but also has 2 QB transfers coming in, and neither one has a lot of college football experience at the position. So I think they're going to struggle, and it's going to take a little while for that offense to click. Defense also struggled a lot last season. So I had really tough non-conference schedule at Missouri, Clemson, and South Alabama. So I got them at 3 wins.
Zeke, what do you think? La Tech 4.5.
I'm going to have to go with the under. I think it's going to be a tough year for La Tech. I really like the head coach. I think he brings a lot of energy. I think it's going to be a tough year, and then maybe 2023 they get that thing rolling. But they're probably going to beat some teams they shouldn't this year.
Murph?
Yeah, I got him under as well. I got him at 3 wins. Sonny Cumbie, he's actually a Mike Leach disciple, so they're going to continue to try and throw the ball around the yard. They got those 2 transfers coming in, which actually each one of them was with him at a different stop along the way, so he's got some familiarity there. But I just think, again, like Tip said, their non-conference is tough. It's kind of front-loaded. Whenever these teams, they kind of get beat up on in the beginning of the year, you never know, it could just snowball. And I just think they got a long way to go. So I got them at 3 wins.
Yeah, I'm taking the under also. even their FCS non-conference, Stephen F. Austin is going to be tough.
Yeah.
That's when I don't think they're probably happy about having that game on the schedule.
It's like Stephen Austin plus points, whatever it is, week.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. But yeah, brutal non-conference. I'm taking the under on La Tech. Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders, 5.5. All of our alma mater. So anybody that's listening, take this with a grain of salt. Jesse Grisham, what do you got?
What kind of order are you going in here? I mean, will you just draw them out of a hat or what? I know there's an outline to it, but I just want to know where the order came from.
It's alphabetical. Could be what you're looking at.
Well, WKU sure.
Typically, it's alphabetical order or numerical order is usually what you'd pick, and I went.
We started with Western, so that was.
We went with Western because it flowed with Tip's prediction about Bailey Zappi. We talked about it even before we started recording, but
here you go, 6-6 for the MTSU Blue Raiders. I believe they'll go 6-6. Rick Stockstill, even if his team is not as heavy talented as usual, that guy finds a way to win. He wins games that sometimes we think they have no shot, and they win. So he's got a hard schedule starting out with James Madison and Colorado State. I think they're going to be 0-2 starting out this season, but I think they're going to win games that we think that they should have lost. Like I see them beating UTSA at home. I said it. I think they'll surprise the world to do that. So I got 6-6. I'm going about 5-3 in the conference.
Tip.
I have the over as well. I have them at 6 wins. And to piggyback off what Jesse was saying, I mean, the front part of their schedule is brutal. I mean, James Madison, Colorado State, then Tennessee State, and then travel down to Miami. And then your first 3 conference games are UTSA, UAB, and Western Kentucky, all 3 in a row. It's like, oh, my gosh. But then I think after that stretch, I think they win their last 5 conference games and end up at 6 wins.
Zeke? You think the Raiders do it?
Yeah, so I've got the over. Last year they had to overcome some adversity in the beginning of the year with that quarterback situation. They went with their guy, and then their guy ended up jumping ship. So they had to overcome and win some games, that they needed to win. The Marshall win was huge for them last year, but I think they get it done. I think they're not happy with how the past few years have went, and you've got some guys, 2 guys that have got some experience in playing time, and I think they can lead you to a bowl season.
Murph, you got them going undefeated or what?
Let me tell you something, boys. The MTSU Blue Raiders are going to be a very good team this year, but I got them over. I got them at 6 wins realistically, like you guys alluded to. I mean, I know who set up this schedule. I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but an absolutely brutal beginning to the season. I mean, you're going to one of the top, new group of 5 teams coming up in James Madison at home. That place is going to be packed. I mean, it's a lose-lose, honestly, for them, because if they lose, then they just lost to a team that just got moved up, essentially. And if they win, it might be close, but it's like, oh, well, they should have beat them. And then they go all the way across the country to Colorado State. Then they come back home, and then they go to Miami. And then, like Tip listed off, the first conference game. So, they got a new offensive coordinator in Mitch Stewart. Interested to see he's bringing the air raid in, which would be a little bit different than the up-tempo kind of fast screen, that we've seen the last couple of years at Middle. So I'm excited to see a little bit of a change there. You got Chase Cunningham, who I think is going to end up being the guy. It'll be interesting to see how camp plays out. His season got cut short last year, due to that knee injury, but he was playing really, really good ball, protecting the football. And you could just see when he kind of took over, and we saw it in Charlotte, the team just galvanized around him. That's the guy they wanted to begin with. So you got Jalen Lane, who's a great receiver and one of the top punt returners in the country. So I think they got some pieces. I think O-line wise, they got a bunch of guys transferring in. So that's going to be a huge key. But I got them at 6 wins. I got them at the over.
I can't remember who has or has not picked yet, but I do want to just I got to say this while it's fresh in my mind. I agree with everything you're saying, Murph, but talk about that snowball effect. I mean, we witnessed that firsthand.
Yeah.
That year where we went, I think it was 2010 where we went 2-8, and that we all can empathize with. And I know Rick Stockstill would never want anything like that happen to ever happen again. And this schedule, you were set up to face that uphill battle of that happening.
I agree.
You start off without any momentum, and it could change the entire aspect of your season, no matter how good your team is.
Yeah,
So.
I agree with you. I think the biggest thing from this season, from what I've heard from Stock and comparing to that season where it kind of happened to us, is the senior leadership they have on this team seems to be a lot greater than we had that year. So, and that makes all the difference in the world, because Stock's going to do his best to keep the team together. I do think they beat James Madison. I think it's an extremely close game. And I think going out to Colorado State is a tough road trip in week 2. It's not like they can't win that game. So they very well could start off, 2-1, 2-0, 3-0, go, after Tennessee State. But it's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy challenge. But I agree. I know what you're saying in the snowball effect. It could very well happen, but I think this team's got a better shot to possibly avoid it.
Think about MTSU, right? I look at the schedule. I see 2 big weeks. It's like, no shit. The first week, he says they'll beat James Madison. I'm 50-50 on that. I have no idea. If they beat James Madison, it's looking okay for this season. But if they start out 0-1 and they go 0-2, and then by the time they go to UTSA, they're 1-3, that UTSA game is about to be huge. And if they lose UTSA, I mean, there's your snowball effect, I feel like. I think they'll beat UTSA because that's something Rick Stock still does. I mean, he somehow wins these big games. But, this schedule's brutal, man. It's one of the harder ones.
The good news they got going for them is they play all those games, and then after Western they have a bye. So they could very easily be 1-5 or 1-6 at the end of that now. But yeah, they could. I mean, James Madison, we have no idea.
Yeah.
But here's what I want to say: if you're a Middle Tennessee fan or student or whatever listening to this is where you have to be an educated fan, because you need to know that James Madison and Colorado State are really good ball teams. Yep. And so you can't have your team, if they lose both of those, let's assume they beat Tennessee State, who's not a pushover either now. No. And then
Eddie George.
We'll assume that they lose at Miami. Miami's supposed to be back, right, this year. But you can't allow UTSA to come in there and nobody show up on a Friday night because your team's 1-3. You cannot do that, because that is what also leads to the snowball effect. Now, even if you are 1-3 and then you beat UTSA at home in front of a home crowd, then you got Western coming there in your rivalry game in a couple weeks. So you could get out of that tough part of the schedule. Best case scenario, you could be. I mean, you could be 5-1, 5-2, but you could also be 1-5, 1-6. But you can't give up on this team, because you're like everybody said, Stockstill's going to win 6 games no matter what happens. So they might. And then they get the bye after Western, and they might rattle off 5 wins in a row, make a bowl game. It'd be kind of like but I just hope that when they play UTSA at home and when they play Western at home, and then I think they play Charlotte at home a couple weeks after that, please, for the love of God, show up for that team. Every Conference USA team, because we talked about how these schedules are going to make or break. So just understand that sometimes teams lose to really good teams. It happens. And it's just the way the schedule falls. Because if this schedule was flipped, they'd be 5-0 getting ready to play, getting ready to go to James Madison, and you'd be thinking you got best team in the conference. So sorry to get on a little rant there. North Texas, Jesse's dark horse. They're at 6.5. Christian, what do you got?
They're one of my dark horses. They're not my number one dark horse, but they are a dark horse. I'm saying right now, I think this is going to be the best offense in Conference USA this year. They have 4 outstanding wide receivers, 2 of which they didn't have last year because they went out with injury. But by like week 2 or 3, the 2 or 3 of their prime wide receivers. They got Grant Gunnell coming in from Memphis, who was a pretty good stud at Arizona. And from research I've done, they're going to have the best O-line in the Conference USA. I'm an O-line guy. You have protection up front. You're going to win some ball games. I really see these guys going on some winning streaks here. I have them losing to UTEP week 1. But after that, I got them upsetting SMU. They're going to have a good – and I think they're going to also upset Memphis. So I'm excited to see this team. I think they're going to go 8-4.
Zeke, you didn't like that. I'm going to skip Tip and go to you. You had a interesting face there. What do you got?
Upsetting SMU?
Yeah.
No.
It's at North Texas.
Tanner Mordecai?
Yeah.
No,
Grant
I don't think so. I think their offense is too high-powered for North Texas to hang with them, and I think they're too big up front. So I know North Texas may have a pretty good offense, but I don't think they can hang with SMU. But I'll go ahead and tell you my pick since you're on me.
Yes, sir.
I forgot what they were. What are they?
6.5.
6.5.
6.5. I'm gonna say the under. I know that they're supposed to be an up and coming team, but I also don't know that they beat UTEP. I like UTEP catching them the first week. I think they lose to SMU. They beat Texas Southern. UNLV could be an interesting one. Downtown Vegas, you may have a couple players slip out the night before, hit the craps table.
You wouldn't know anything about craps tables, would you, Zeke?
I wouldn't know anything about sneaking out a little early, catching a little craps table. I don't think they beat Memphis, and then, I think FAU by that time of the year they could have the offense rolling. So I don't know. I'm taking the under. I mean, that would mean 7 wins, so taking the under.
Tip.
I have the under as well. I have them going 6-6. I think just when you have a transfer QB coming in, you just never know how quickly it's gonna gel. And I mean, Grant Gunnell looks good, and but I just don't know. I agree with Jesse and Zeke. I think they're gonna lose to UTEP, and I have them losing to SMU, so they're 0-2 right there. I actually have them beating UNLV. But I mean, you have UTSA, Western Kentucky, and UAB all on the road this year. So you have arguably the top 2 teams in the conference, and you got to go play them on the road. So they have an upcoming defense, though. Phil Bennett's second season, he's as the defensive coordinator, and has really improved that defense, and they have a lot of starters returning. So, could definitely see him going over, but just looking at the schedule right now, I have him at 6 wins.
Murph, what do you got?
Yeah, actually, I got him at 6 wins as well. So sorry, Grish, I'm not going to agree with you on this one. Yeah, I mean, I think their defense is good. I think they were actually the 5th rushing attack in the country last year, but I think the questions at quarterback worries me. I think their travel and their schedule worries me a little bit. They do have 2 transfers coming in from UCLA who are actually twin brothers, which is kind of interesting. The Murphy brothers, go figure. So they're probably studs. And then they got he was the most accurate kicker in Conference USA last year, Ethan Mooney, returning. So I think they got a good team. I agree that they're on the rise. I just think they're going to be middle of the road. I think they're going to be 6 wins.
Gotta love you doing research all the way down to the specialists. We appreciate it.
Hey, they need love too, baby. They need love too. It's like them big girls.
Special people, baby. Special people.
So North Texas is a perfect example of what I just talked about with Middle last year. So they had a tough part of their schedule last year. So they lost to SMU, UAB. They did lose to La Tech. They lost to Missouri. They lost to Marshall. And they lost to Liberty. Then they won 5 in a row in the back half of their schedule, to include a win versus UTSA. So may get those tough games out. I mean, what do you want them to do? Just where they happen to play them. I got the over, Grish. I got them. I mean, like I said, they won 5 straight last year. They got a lot of confidence. I think Latrell was on the hot seat last year, especially before they won those 5 games in a row. And so I think they got a lot to prove. And
Here's a name
I'm
for
taking
you,
the over.
Tommy Bush. Keep an eye on him. No, so I'm being serious. Tommy Bush, wide receiver, North Texas. He played 3 years at Georgia. He's at North Texas right now. He got hurt last year.
What's his name again?
Game of the year. Huh?
What's his name again?
Tommy Bush. Tommy Bush. Donnie, their receiving course is good. So I hear you, Zeke. SMU is probably going to be a freaking fireworks show. I think it's going to be it'll be high scoring. But yeah, I've never thought I'd say North Texas is going to be doing this great, but
they got the facilities.
Loaded this year.
That's for sure.
They got facilities, and I mean, God, they got the players this year. They're going to be loaded.
You know, they got I'm surprised nobody mentioned KD Davis, the linebacker, an all-conference guy. He was one of your last chance you guys. So a Netflix guy, all-conference linebacker.
I think that was a different KD Davis.
Nope.
That KD Davis played at Arkansas State. Did he transfer to North Texas?
I don't know.
I hate to say it to you, Sprouse, but you are wrong.
Maybe,
don't edit that out either. You need to be wrong sometimes.
I might be wrong.
You are wrong because I saw
I don't
it too,
watch
and I was like, KD Davis. I thought he's on Last Chance U. He went to Arkansas State. Their KD Davis is different, but he is a all-conference linebacker who will be leading the way in tackles this year in Conference USA. Just got to do a little research, Sprouse, before you go on here.
Sorry, I don't watch Netflix.
Well, that's your problem right there.
All right. Well, so anyway, I got the over though because I do like KD Davis. Last chance you or not. Rice 3.5. Jesse Grisham.
Under. Like La Tech. There's not much to talk about.
Tip.
I have the under as well. I have them at 3 wins. They went 4-8 last year, and they're trying to build a physical brand of football, and I think that's going to get them some wins that you might not think that they would win going into the games. But got a QB battle going on between 2 guys, Willie Green and TJ McMahon. So you got 4 returning starters on the O-line. Top running backs returning. Just got a really tough non-conference schedule. They're at USC and Houston. They have Louisiana at home. And they got to play the big 3. They got to play UAB, Western Kentucky, and UTSA. So I have the under.
Zeke?
Yeah, I got the under. They may be physical, but they're bad. So they may not win many games. They're going to try to whoop your ass.
It's be a rock fight.
So was that an under pick, Zeke?
Yeah,
that was an under. Murph, what do you got?
Yeah, I got him at 3 wins. So I'm going under as well. I think, like Tip said, their schedule is tough in the beginning. They got to find a QB, some stability there. They got to have that. And defense has got to be better. They couldn't stop a nosebleed last year. And speaking on the kicking game, 5 of 11 on field goals last year, and a couple ended up costing them. So they've got to be better in the kicking game. You never know. It could be the difference in 2-3 more wins. So
I'm taking the under. I mean, I got them at like 2 wins, but Rice that's a weird one too. They got some resources. They got a lot of money at that school. Just not entirely sure why they can't put it all together there, but I'm taking the under on that. All right, UAB, one of the favorites. Vegas got them at 8.5. Jesse Grisham, what do you got?
So funny, FYI, in case you didn't know, their new head coach was actually my D coordinator in high school, my freshman sophomore year. So I'm not exactly boys with him, but I know where he comes from. Pretty good coach. I think these guys, they still have the talent. I think that they're going to win. What was the over again? Sorry, Sprouse. Or what was the
8.5?
Jeez. No, I'm going to put them. I'll put them at 9 wins. I have 9 wins, winning some close ones. I got them going to the conference championship game. Let's put it that way.
Tip.
I have the under. I have them at 10 wins this year, and I think
Under.
the win.
I mean,
Did I say under?
Yeah.
Sorry, I meant the over. At 10 wins, I apologize. Over 10 wins. They play UTSA at home on November 5th. I think the winner of that game will determine who plays UTSA in the conference championship game.
Say it again. The winner of UAB and UTSA determines who plays UTSA.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was sorry. They
Oh
play.
God, you don't make mistakes like this ever.
Yeah,
I know. Thank you for calling me out.
Do it again.
I apologize.
What do they? When do they play? Do they play UTSA in the regular?
They
season?
do play UTSA, and to Tip's defense, it is.
Thinking it'll determine who hosts maybe the championship game.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yes. I think yes. The winner of that game will host the championship game.
Because there's not East and a West, it's kind of difficult on who you think is going to be in the championship game, because it's going to be. I think it's going to come down to, like Tip's saying, what's top two teams, but two teams could, like, well, I have a better record, but UTSA actually beat me and we're tied, or he has one loss less than me, or I don't know. So I did the math and it was hard to do.
It actually benefits UTSA and UAB, right? Because they were both in the West last year, and if you say only one of them can go to the conference championship game, now you've got an opportunity where they can basically it's a shootout. It's a shootout, and they can. There's a head-to-head matchup out there. It's probably Western Kentucky or something like that that's going to determine who gets – I mean, I know the head-to-head will determine home field advantage, but other than that, then these teams could face each other again in the conference championship. And that's what the interesting part about this realignment did to their advantage.
Yeah, that's – and I mean, you look at North Texas too, who I think me and Jesse might have as the third of the top three teams. They were in the West too, so all three of them could end up playing each other. Where you look at last year, I mean, Western. After Western, it was, I mean, they didn't have a whole lot going on. Marshall was 5-3 in the conference. ODU was 5-3 in the conference, and then it was Middle 4-4. So I didn't. Zeke, did you? I didn't get your pick. Did you have them over under 8.5?
That's a good question. I gotta check. I had them over. I had them over for that reason. I think I think Liberty could be pretty tough, but I think they're figuring out their quarterback situation. I think they beat the Blue Raiders, as much as I hate to say it, but I'm sure Rick will listen to this and be like, let's make sure we whoop UAB's ass. But yeah, I think they beat Western. I think they have a very good shot at beating UTSA, but that's probably going to end up being the conference championship. So I've got them over 8.5.
Murph, what do you got?
Yeah, I got them. I got them at 9, so I got them over. I think it's going to be important. That interim head coach, he's got to keep that Bill Clark mentality of that program in order for them to keep the thing rolling. But his biggest help is they have so many guys coming back. And again, we talk about names. Debo McBride, stud running back, had almost 1,400 yards last year, 13 TDs, and they got a couple other guys that can tote it too. But their defense, man, their defense was good last year. I think it's going to be really good again. I think they have the top secondary in the conference by far. So, I mean, if teams are looking to really throw on them, it's going to be difficult. So that's why I love, that UTSA UAB matchup with the offensive UTSA and the defense UAB. But 9 wins is what I got them at.
Yeah, I got them over too. I think they're going to start 8-0. I think Liberty, Alabama A&M, Georgia Southern are pretty should be wins in the non-conference. And then so they should be 8-0 going to that UTSA game. And then other than UTSA and at LSU late in the year, I think those are the only two games that they won't be favored in by a bunch. So I think they're over. I got them at 9 or 10 wins. UTEP 5.5. UTEP was kind of the sleeper last year, and then they fell off towards the end. Jesse, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm probably an imbecile hearing that it's 5.5, but when UTEP, they're actually, besides North Texas, they're my sleeper this year. I have them actually going to the conference championship to play UAB and possibly beating UAB. Reason being, I look like Zeke spoke on him earlier. Gavin Hardison, he's a beast. And they have a really good set of running backs with Ronald Ollett and Dean Hankins. But what I like about them the best is their defense, and I think they have the best defensive player in the conference. Deanne Praise Amewu. Is that wrong? I tried to Google it. I think it's Amewu.
I don't know, but I saw the name and I was like, I hope nobody's going to try to say.
Well, he's phenomenal. He's been in all conference for like the past 2 years, and he's going to make some stops for him. So what I like about UTEP's schedule. They'll beat North Texas, which I already said my other dark horse, and they go to Oklahoma. That'll be a loss. But if you keep going through the schedule, I think they're going to have a huge win mid-season against Boise State. I know Jeff's going to be like, oh, I think Boise State, they beat them at home. And then it's going to line up to where the very last game is going to be against UTSA. And the winner of that game will go to the conference championship against UAB. And I think UTEP pulls it out at home.
Wow.
I like the take.
It's a big pick. Yeah. Bold. Tip, what do you got? UTEP 5.5.
I have the over. I have them at 6 wins. I think they lose to Boise State, and I have them losing to Charlotte right after that. And then they got to go through. I got them losing to MTSU, and then I have them losing to UTSA in that final week. Got the over, but just barely got them at 6 wins.
Zeke,
mine was 9. By the way, 9 wins. 9 wins going to the FYI.
I like UTEP. I like UTEP to be over. I think that's a pretty safe lock. I think last year they fell short. You know, they probably won some games last year that they shouldn't have, but I think they have the talent to go out and win 8 games. So that's a stretch, but I don't see them beating Oklahoma. I don't see them beating Boise. I see them beating Charlotte. I see the Blue Raiders sneaking one over them, but they probably pop La Tech. But yeah, I see him at 8 wins. I think Gavin Hardison, if he manages his turnovers, you know, he's got a lot of big play ability, which is necessary for them to get to those 8 wins.
Murph, UTEP at 5.5. What do you got?
I got them at 5 wins. I got them under. I think they lost the bulk. I mean, they did lose the bulk of their production at the wide receiver position. Their top 2 guys are gone. I think it's going to be hard to replace those guys. I do like Gavin Hardison. I think he had a good year last year. And their special teams weren't very good. So, you know, if they can replace the receivers, you know, shore some things up on special teams. I think their defense isn't bad. They got 3 offensive linemen returning, both the running backs coming back. So I like them. I just think their schedule's, you know, it's a little rough at spots. And I think losing those receivers are going to be hard to replace.
Jess, what do you got?
This is why we do this. I got to open this up for debate. I'm not attacking anybody.
Just say what you want to say.
Well, I'm just saying we're literally having the exact same takes about UTEP as y'all did about Western Kentucky, but yet y'all are all like Western Kentucky. I think they still they lost their best receivers, and y'all got them winning like 8 or 9 games. UTEP has the best defense.
I said the same. I personally said the same thing about them. I do think they're overall a better team than UTEP.
So UTEP had one of their studs transfer out to Arizona, but they also had a couple guys come in.
It was their stud. I mean, the stud transferred out. They did. I mean, they lost their best receiver. I'm saying, but Western Kentucky did too. But I feel like we're all still high on Western Kentucky when UTEP. I mean, I think defense wins championships. Their defense is better than Western Kentucky's. I promise you that. And that's why I'm just. I'm just surprised y'all got them so low. I feel like everybody here's got me like 5 wins. I'm just like,
I just said they could go 7 or 8.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I got the under on UTEP also. Sorry to add.
Let's check in 12 weeks and see how bad I
am. Yeah, I think UTEP. To be honest with you, I think last year was a little bit of a fluky year for UTEP. I think they snuck up on some people, and then I think reality hit, and that's why they fell off towards the end of the year. But
they lost their bowl game too, didn't they?
That's a great question.
I'll go up.
Probably. UTSA's the clear favorite in the media anyway. 8.5. Jesse, what do you got?
I got them right at 8 wins, just because I'm sorry, that's a lie. I have them at 9 wins, but I have them losing to UTEP last game of the year, and they don't go to the conference championship because of that. So they're going to have a good season. Loaded. Y'all saw facilities. They're going to get recruits. I mean, heck, their O-line is very, very good. They got a running back out of Arizona State, and who also came from Arkansas. So I think they're going to be a pretty good team. But UTEP beats them last week, and they don't go to the conference championship. Conference championship, UAB versus UTEP.
All right. Tip, what you got?
I have the over. I have them winning 10 games this year. Sansom McCormick, that's a big loss on the offensive side of the ball. But they have a deep running back room. They got, like Jesse just mentioned, the Arkansas transfer, Traylon Smith. They also have Ty Edwards and Braden Brady. Have one of the best wide receiver groups in Conference USA, led by Zachary Franklin, Joshua Cephas, and DeCorian Clark. I mean, all three of those guys combined for almost 2,600 receiving yards and had 25 combined touchdowns last year. Frank Harris, quarterback, he's back, the dual threat quarterback. He's my projected Conference USA Player of the Year for this season.
Book it.
4 returning starters on the offensive line. They only allowed 21 sacks in 14 games last year. I mean, they have a tough non-conference schedule, and their 2 losses are from the non-conference schedule. I have them losing to Houston week 1 and then also losing to Texas. But I have them going undefeated in Conference USA in regular season, and you'll hear the same take later, but I have them as the conference champions.
I like it. Zeke, what do you got?
Yeah, I've got the over. I've got them winning 9. I mean, Houston, they lose that one. UTSA and Army. I mean, that game may be the fastest game ever played. That game may be over before you even wake up. But yeah, they lose to Texas, and it's played at 11 a.m. So I said that. But yeah, I do think they lose one conference game somewhere because they tend to do it every year,
MTSU.
and they can get a little bit one-dimensional at times. And I think, as Murph emphasized earlier in the episode, it's all about the matchup later on, and I really do think that UTEP and that UTEP matchup at the end of the season is a rivalry game and could be one that could be tough on them, depending on their situation. But I think they get 9 wins.
Murph?
Yeah, I got them over. I got them at 9 wins. I agree. But they always seem to drop, kind of that one game in conference, which was against North Texas last year. But, I mean, the consistency and the firepower coming back on offense, they have just so many guys, so much talent. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to stop them. I mean, Frank Harris had almost 3,200 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, and then had another almost 600 on the ground with 6 TDs running. So, I mean, that guy's an offensive machine just in his own right. You got those 3 receivers coming back, 5 starters back on defense. And the biggest thing is Jeff Traylor. I mean, we were down there. We got to feel the energy in the building, in the community. They are sold out on UTSA. They believe, he's got not only the students, the athletes, the community believing in this team, and that goes a long way. So I think they make it to the conference championship game. I think they win the conference. But here's the funny thing, boys, and I want to get your opinion on it. Jared Sackett was a kicker. Okay? Guess what? He transfers to Arkansas. Doesn't win the job. Transfers to USF. Doesn't win the job. Guess who transferred back to UTSA?
Oh, my God.
Oh,
All
no.
projected to be the
Kill
starting
him.
kicker this year.
Oh, no.
Is this
Well, he
okay? Is this
No.
okay? I got to open this up for discussion.
No, Jeff, why would I change opinion just because it's a different position? God, it's such a quarterback thing for you to say.
No, it's not. So you think they shouldn't play this kid?
I'm thinking the guy betrayed the team to go run off to some
Oh
other
my
school,
gosh.
and he can't hack it. They were obviously that desperate for a kicker. They were.
Can you
desperate.
imagine the locker room when, not if, when he misses a field goal this year? I mean, dude,
Oh, you guys need to grow up, dude. It's a free agent world out there now, guys. It's the new wave of college football. People are going, they're coming back. Just let it go. It's all good.
Yeah.
look, I know you're just trying to stir up the Swag Bears. Swag Bear's got a cold, so he's trying to hold back a little
I
bit.
can't get my heart rate up.
And that deviated septum is firing on all cylinders right now.
Were
How
you
can
laughing at me a minute ago, or were you coughing? I couldn't tell.
Who, me?
Well,
Laughing at
when
me
he, when
or
he said the
coughing?
name,
No, that name was that. What was his name? Sackett.
Jared Sackett.
You know,
Or it could be
UTS
Sackett. It could be French.
So-
It could be Sackett. I don't know.
You
This is like,
UTSA is trying to tell him to suck it.
Let
Let
me-
come back. Suck it.
let me paint a picture for you. This is what these guys are doing, Jeff. You're dating a good-looking girl in school, okay? Then a new girl comes along. She's hotter. So you go over there. She dumps you after a day. Then you go on to your old girlfriend's friend, and then she dumps you after a day. Girlfriend number one ain't taking you back, Jeff. Not
No,
after that.
But then you go for your best friend's mom, and then everything is all good.
Mom's best friend. Get this story right. Hey, anyway, I got UTSA ready for this. I got them under. I got them winning 8 games. I got them losing to Houston. I got them losing at Texas, which I know I really don't want to pick that. But if I got a lot of money on the line, it's just risky. And I got them losing at Army. I do. And then I have them losing that one conference game that they're going to slip up. But so I got them at 8-4. Hey, real quick bonus pick, Liberty. They're not in the conference yet, but they will be. They're at 6.5. So Vegas thinks they are about to fall off hard. Anybody even looked at Liberty at all? They're at 6.5, Jess.
I'm a man of honest words. I don't even know who they're playing, but I do have them losing to UAB, which means they'll probably lose more games. I'll give them the under. They lost a hell of a quarterback last year. So,
Let's just recite it out. I mean, they open up with Southern Miss, then they go to UAB, or I'm sorry, UAB goes to them. Then they go to Wake Forest. Then they have Akron at home. Then they go to Old Dominion. And then Liberty goes to UMass. Gardner Webb goes to Liberty. BYU comes to Liberty. Liberty goes to Arkansas. Liberty goes to Connecticut. Virginia Tech goes to Liberty. New Mexico State goes to Liberty.
push 6 wins. I'll give them 6 wins.
Sprouse, what'd you say? You said it was 6.5?
6.5.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, under. Why they do the half?
What do you got them to?
Actually, just looking at that schedule, I got them. I think I got them right at 7.
That's what I got them.
Yeah, I can see them being Southern Miss, Akron, Old Dominion, UMass, Gardner Webb, UConn, and New Mexico State.
We'll talk about Southern Miss when we get to the Sun Belt, but that team's been getting disrespected. I think they're going to be pretty good here pretty soon. Just saying. Till next time. I like you. I like Southern Miss.
Zeke, you got Liberty over under 6.5.
I don't know much about Liberty, but after they lost Malik Willis, I guess, I don't know. I still think they're a pretty good, pretty tough football club. I feel like they can get, I don't know, that BYU, Arkansas, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, UAB. You better give me the under, I guess.
I'm with Murph and Tip on this. Southern Miss, Akron, UMass, Gardner Webb, UConn, New Mexico State, and then give me one more. Give me, Old Dominion, Wake Forest, maybe something like that. But Virginia Tech at Liberty, that's an interesting one. But yeah, you lose Malik, who should have been drafted in the top 10, right, Zeke? But was not. That's brutal, huh?
Tough.
So real quick, Liberty has a 5th-year transfer quarterback coming in, Charlie Brewer. He's coming in from Utah, but he's had some playing time at Baylor and Utah. He's actually played 5 seasons, so this is his 6th season of collegiate
COVID
football.
senior.
COVID senior, and he's accumulated more than 11,000 yards of total offense. So he has a lot of playing experience. So that will help them tremendously.
I like it. So
you better
Jeff,
give me the over after that one.
you got UTEP versus UAB, Jess?
Yes.
And who wins?
I'm going to take UAB. I think it's just going to be a season. It's going to be, let's do it for Clark. So I feel like UAB is going to win.
Tip.
So the point I was trying to make earlier was UAB plays at Western Kentucky on October 21st. I think the winner of that game will determine who plays UTSA in the conference championship game. And I have UAB winning that game at Western Kentucky. So I have UTSA versus UAB with UTSA hosting, and I have UTSA winning it.
If Baby Sprouse wasn't going to be born, I would say that one would be the one we need to go to.
Y'all go. Zeke, who you got? Who you got in the championship here?
All signs point to UAB and UTSA, and that's the point I was making earlier. I won't say it again, but UAB and UTSA and being in the West, I think it's a great opportunity for both teams to have a shootout, but I'm going UAB and UTSA in the championship unless old Jarrett can get it going.
Murphy, you have the same UAB, UTSA?
Chase Cunningham in the blue. Nah, yeah. I have UTSA and UAB, and I think UTSA wins the conference championship. I'm going to post my conference parlay winners here pretty soon on the old Twitter, so big payout.
I'm going to go out on a huge limb here, boys.
Take them.
I got UAB versus North Texas.
Whoa.
Conference USA championship game. Now I like UAB to win it, though. I do, but I think North Texas, I mean, because here's the deal. They could be a 7-win team, 8-win team, and play for the conference championship in this deal. So North Texas, Mean Green out of Denton, Texas. Apogee Stadium is going to be cranked up all year long for the Mean Green with the eagle on their helmet. But that's what we got. I'm going to say, guys, to our listeners, thank you for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Group of Five Guys. A little bit, I got a cold. Grisham's got a cold. Got some colds going around, so, sorry if we sound like I know I was sniffling all episode, so I apologize for that. But we thank you, as always. Next week, Maction preview. Fireworks are going to be going. I love the Mac. No Dustin Crum this year, so I don't know what the hell is going to happen in this conference. But we'll catch you next week. Till then.
I feel like unwiped ass right now. So let's
take your zinc and your vitamin D.
Get outside, remember? It's the healthiest thing you can do.
I've been walking. That's probably why my body's not used to this walking outside. It's like, what are you
You're worn out. You
yeah.
Walk to the neighborhood pool, and now you're.
I'm just tired. Is all I am. I'm worried. I think I'm sick. I'm out of here.
That's all we got. Group of Five Guys. We're out.